Good morning, and yeah, I know it's been a while, good 3 or 4 weeks. It's been really busy at the moment. Birthdays, my own birthday, and yeah, a few other family social gatherings. But yeah, I'm back out on the bank. I am at Watergate fishery, part of the Ratfin and Watergate actual fishery. There's 3 lakes here, I believe, from sort of intermediate, sort of even, well, novice, right up to sort of, you know, a testing water, which is Watergate. I've come down for 24 hours. As you can see, the barrow's loaded. I've walked sort of 5 swims up already and already seen a fish. So there's only 1 guy on at the moment. A lot of the other guys, I'd imagine, are going to be here in the next 15-20 minutes. And yeah, I can't wait to get back down to that swim and secure that. So as I can say, the barrow's loaded. I just got to grab a net, mat and sling, give them a good dip. And then yeah, we can get round to my swim for the next 24 hours. So I'm going to leave it there, get a move on, and yeah, go and secure this swim. Absolutely knackered pushing that barrow round. I think the tire's a bit flat, to be fair, and it's so muggy. Wearing this hoodie as well, it's not making things any easier. But let me swing the camera around and I'll show you what I've got in front of me. So here, just here, is where I see that fish roll as I turn my back to walk round. I've got a lot of water here. There's something else that's just broke the surface as well. So I've got a lot of water to play with. I've even got obviously this margin up the right hand side. So up here, this goes round into shallower, sort of like a back of an island, really small channel. And then also up here, there's like a channel as well. Flip the camera up, I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, that goes sort of right back deep in there, just like a little finger of water. So it goes up round there, round here, into the main body of water. So down the left hand side we have peg 6. All this is peg 6 as water. So obviously the favoured areas are all this, all sort of like 1, 2, 3, all this chunk of the middle bit with all the lilies and stuff like that. But as I said, I'm here for 24 hours and I just want to fish for a bite at a time. Like I said, I've seen a fish, well, 1 definite fish, 2 obviously something's broke the surface. In these swims, you know, are pretty obvious that they're going to get snapped up, but they're all quite close and intimate, whereas down here there's a lot of water to go at, and if no one does occupy, you know, this area of water, if I see anything I can react on it. And like I say, I've got all this water in front of me as well, so that's the thinking. I've seen fish here. I've done a lot of sort of asking online and stuff like that, and it seems like people say the fish are very cagey, they're very spooky. Stay back away from the water's edge, keep things quiet and low key, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I believe this is sort of the older half of the lake before it's been extended down into peg 6 and that sort of area, so that's more freshly dug out, whereas this area is a bit more silty, a bit more sort of matured, sort of above and below the water surface. It's a lot siltier, so I'm going to probably look at doing sort of spinner rigs, hinge stiff rigs amongst the silt, light leads, that sort of thing, see if I can nick myself a bite. But the rain's starting to come down, absolutely lashed it down on the way, so I'm going to quickly chuck the brolly up just to keep everything sort of as dry as possible, and then yeah, like I say, look to get maybe flick a couple of rods out in the area for a couple of hours and see what happens from there. But yeah, this rain's starting to get a little bit harder now, so I'm going to quickly chuck the brolly up and I will catch up with you guys soon. As you can see, 1 rod is out. I just had to flick it out. I've just chucked a Ronnie rig over to where I saw the fish, and around 10 millers over the top of it, and just sit on that whilst I'm just setting up this other rod. It was like I say, too good of an opportunity to not just, you know, underarm flick a rod out where I see that fish. So spool's nice and loose, so that ain't going anywhere, and I'll be on it within seconds. So yeah, that ain't really going to make a mad dash for it. It's not like I'm fishing up to the sort of lilies or anything like that. It's pretty much open water where I've dropped that rig into. So whilst I was doing that rod, I see another fish sort of roll just off the island to the left, in peg sort of 6's water, or maybe just on the boundary. I'll need to have a look, because sections of water for each swim are sort of marked out as such on a map that you may have seen me put up on any of my social media. So I'll have to see sort of where the boundaries are. But like I say, if no one drops into my left, then yeah, I might well just flick a rod down there. But for the moment, I'm just going to say I've got one rod out. I know that's sort of in the zone where I've seen a show. The other one I just need to re-rig up, as I've actually been quite lazy, because I've had a busy week. And yeah, I've only got the lead clip on there from my zigging session from my last session a good 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I'm going to get this one rigged up, tackled up, baited up, keep my eyes on the water whilst I'm doing it, and then yeah, I can think about where I want to drop this rod for the next few hours really. Right, okay, so before I flick this second rod out, I might as well talk you through how I'm going to use sort of the setup, the terminal tackle setup on both rods really. Again, as with every one of my other videos, it is literally the lead clip system. You know, you can take it anywhere. Admittedly, I didn't have this rod set up, but that was because I was zigging on my last session. But yeah, Watergate Lake, likely to use rig tubing. So I've got some of the dark sort of weed green rig tubing, down to lead clip, 2.5 ounce lead, which is probably a little, maybe on the little too heavy side. I would have preferred a 2 ounce lead, or maybe even an ounce and a half, just because it did feel quite soft flicking that first rod out. But I sort of feathered it down. I put a foam nugget on the actual hook, just to keep that sort of upright, and like I say, that did pop up, and I've sort of balanced the rig out just so it flutters down nicely. You know, once it's sort of making its way through the water, descending down onto the lake bed, so that should be sat above any bottom debris nicely. So yeah, lead clip system, quick chain swivel, and then all I am doing, if I can find where I put it, there we go. What I'm doing then is just looping on the rig to the quick chain swivel. It's about 7 inches there of the jackal in 20 pounds, semi-stiff, so it's quite soft, but enough to kick away the rig from the lead. Got a Ronnie rig, so like I say, I'm going to fish pop-ups just because I'm not too sure where the silt meets the new freshly cut gravel. Obviously I'll be able to tell on the cast, but I don't want to go crashing out leads, because I know obviously there's fish in the area, so I want to know that the lead's going down and the rig's presenting. So I'm going to go with a Ronnie rig, trimmed down Bait Tech Superfruit, so a bit visual, really sweet sort of smelling, and just enough putty on there, on the sort of knot where I've joined the boom to the swivel, just enough so that when that foam melts, it'll just come down really slowly. I don't want it plummeting down and then obviously, you know, sitting itself into the silt. I just want it to come down very slowly and just bob itself upright, prime for a bite really. Just trim the pop-up down, just so it's not sort of, you know, blatant, but enough with the colour and like I say, the sweet smell. There's enough there to attract anything that might be in the area. So I'm going to get this one on the rod, flick it out down to my left, because at the moment no one is actually fishing in peg 6. I've seen one more person, well 2 more people I should say, turn up since I've arrived. So I'd be silly to not make the most of seeing something roll down to my left. It's only like 20 yards. So yeah, I'm not really taking you know, taking liberties in anyone else's water. There is actually no one there at the moment, so if they do turn up, I'll whip it in, but just for the next couple of hours, just going to try and see if I can nick myself an extra bite. So let's shut up, let's get this rig on the rod, flick it out, sit back and see if we can nick ourselves an early fish. Right, okay, so that is both the rods out, as you can see. Managed to get the alarms and that now. All the rods right back away from the water's edge, just literally the line sort of draping over the front of the swim really. So that's all inconspicuous and hopefully out the way of any patrolling fish that sort of may come through the margins into these sort of little channel areas. But one thing I have noticed whilst just sort of like looking around the edge of my swim, just having a little look, is this little walkway through here. Now a moment ago I came through here, this little pathway, and come right to the water's edge, and I see a fish just cruising up and down this sort of margin here. Obviously I don't really know how deep it is, but it's definitely a carp. I could see it. It looked like a little mirror, but what I'm going to do is just basically hand bait just some broken boilie and some krill and tuna pellet just along the face of that tree there, and then I can keep an eye on it over the course of the next, like I say, 24 hours. So I'm just going to put a few handfuls along the front of that tree line, just to get them rooting around. They're krill and tuna pellets, so they're gonna, you know, they stink. They're red in colour. They will stand out on the bottom. They will be oozing loads and loads of attraction. So yeah, 4 or 5 little handfuls of pellet just along that tree line, and hopefully Mr. Carp comes back. I fancy a little go on that. Well, I will certainly be keeping an eye on that. Every sort of 15-20 minutes, just come back, see if I can see any bubblers, anything like that, any disturbance. I'm just going to step back now and hopefully leave that bait to do its thing. So fingers crossed. Couple of hours has passed and nothing's materialised on them rods, but as I've been standing just in the right hand margin here, I have seen it on a mighty fizz up in peg 4, which is just around this little spit sort of finger sort of bay. Almighty fizz up, and there's a set of pads around there, and it's literally right off the front of the pads, a massive plume of bubbles, and I feel like I'm going to have my best chance at the moment with these 2 rods sitting static and not doing anything, you know, trying to nick an opportunist bite. I think we're going to have to go around to there and do exactly the same. I've just prepped up off the rig. I've got some pellet and crumb boilie in my pocket. I think I'm going to just go down, lower down the rig against some pads, and sit on the rod for an hour and see what happens. But, it's too good of an opportunity to miss. Obviously there's fish in there, there's massive plume of bubbles. I need to go stick a bait on his head, so let's get these 2 in, take a rod, net and mat around there. Fingers crossed, might be able to nick a fish. We did lower the rig down. There was a massive plume of silt come up just to the left of it, and just before I did lower the rig down as well, just before that, a fish just made its way out of the lilies, and then like I say, there's a massive plume of silt as well, and I managed to get that rig in hopefully without causing too much disturbance. but yeah, I've just sort of peppered the front of these lilies with some pellet and broken boilie. Just lowered down a wafter, triple M wafter on a slip D rig, and hopefully that nicks me a bite. But quite clearly there are one or two fish just milling around this little area. It kind of goes all the way up here, just like narrows down, comes a little bit wider here. You know, it's probably two rod lengths wide, if that. But yeah, there's fish in the area, so fingers crossed we can nick one. I'm gonna just sit on top of this rod, keep watching, and hopefully we manage to nick a bite. By fish kicking up loads of muck. Look at that massive cloud of silt. Massive cloud. Hopefully, wherever's down there fancies mooching around. It's just down there. There's a nice wafter waiting for it. Seen and a mighty, I don't know if it's a mirror or common or what, moved in over the spot, drifted underneath the lilies, drifted straight back out and was gone really. Sat on it for another hour, nothing's materialised, so just going to go back round to my swim, have a bite to eat, reassess the situation, and maybe drop a little bit more bait in back round the corner, and then maybe go revisit it a little bit later on. But I need to have a little bite to eat, get a little bit of energy inside me, and then like I say, we might be able to go pick one off back round there a little bit later on this evening. So let's get some grub on the go. Nearly 6 o'clock in the evening, and earlier, after grabbing a bite to eat, I really couldn't help myself but go back round for another 90 minutes or so stalking in that in peg 4. I went back round there after I had a little bite to eat, and yeah, funnily enough, I see a smaller fish moving underneath the lilies, so I just changed up the hook bait, lowered it back down, and yeah, nothing happened really. Sat on it, like I say, for a good 90 minutes, and nothing materialised. But since then, believe it or not, I've put both rods out. I've got one out down to my left, which is sort of peg 6's water, because there is no one in there at all, and it's kind of like a less pressured area of the lake. But believe it or not, just over my shoulder, literally here, 30 centimetres off the front of these reeds, I've seen there's been two shows, literally like in the space of an hour. My right hander, I did sort of have just underarmed down into sort of like the central area where it goes off into 4 and into this little sort of like spit area. I did kind of just underarm it down there, because like I say, there were 2 or 3 fish just going backwards and forwards. But yeah, I don't know if it's obviously the same fish or not, but two shows within an hour, literally right off the front of these reeds. So what I've done is I've had that rod in, and I've just lowered it down. I've just peppered it with a real light handful of pellets, and yeah, just kind of left that there. It's been there for a good sort of, I don't know, 45 minutes so far. But what I did notice is when I put the rod down, when I sort of lowered the lead down, it went down with a nice thud. It wasn't soft or sticky, like where I've been sort of casting out in and around this area, sort of like from 5 like kind of upwards is the old sort of like part of the lake, the siltier area where the sort of like 6 and 7 has been freshly dug out. But down here, right on this margin, it went down for an almighty thud, so it's nice and clean. So what I'm going to do is just get that rig in now and just change it to a wafter, something a little less blatant. You know, I've got a Ronnie rig on there at the moment, but it's clean enough to take a bottom bait rig. So I'm going to have a little triple M wafter on there, just lower it down and just drop a few freebies around it. Doesn't need to be masses of bait down there, I just want them to come in, have a little go and hopefully pick up my hook bait. So I'm going to get that rod in and then that'll be that. I think I'm just going to leave it there for the night, to be quite honest with you, unless I see anything drastically change or make me want to cast towards. But yeah, I think what I will do is just definitely leave that down there and just let them mooch in. As you would have seen earlier, the rods are right back from the edge, literally the tips are just going over the front of the swim, so they're completely oblivious to me being here. Obviously they're right up close against the margin, so if I can get this rod in and get it back out with no disturbance, then who knows, I might be lucky enough to nick a fish. So it's cooling down now. It was a bit muggy earlier. You could feel the sort of warmth coming through the sort of hazy clouds. It's just been like this all day, really hazy, really sort of, I don't know, it doesn't feel like winter, summer. It's got like a, I don't know, it's just a weird kind of like conditions for the day, but it feels good for a bite now that like I say, now that the temps are slowly starting to drop back down, as the evening is starting to draw on, there may be a chance of nicking a fish. So that's a kind of little update as to where we are at the moment. Like I say, it's around 6 PM. So I'm going to get this rod sorted. The left hand one, like I say, is gone out, and I'm just going to leave that out now. I'm happy with that, where that is, and unless I see anything that I need to drastically mix it up, then I'll do the same on that one. So let's get this right hand rod in, get it rigged up with that wafter rig, slip D rig, get it back down, sit back and relax. After 8:30, give it an hour or so and it'll be dark. The light's already starting to fade, so I thought I'd do sort of like a evening outro piece. As you can see, the rods are out. They're out for the night now. They're settled. They've been out for a best part of an hour or so, hour and a half at least. But yeah, just made a brew before bed, and yeah, I thought I'd show you this session's bargain that I found, just from being about to get eaten alive by a mozzie. Yeah, just from being out and about. So Primani special. Look at these for nice little sleeping bag slippers. If like me, when you get a take in the night, you just basically pelt it for your rods, don't even bother putting your shoes on, and you've got obviously soaking wet socks, or you stand on something or a stone or whatever. But yeah, if you like me, then if you got a Primark, then I recommend maybe trying to get down there and seeing if they got any of these left. They were just in like a sort of a sale area, sale rack or stand, or whatever you want to call it. Only £8 anyway, but look at that, £3. I've seen the North Face ones of these before that are 10 times the price of these. Now, even if they last me the rest of this year, then I'm happy. They've got sort of hard bottoms on them, got that Finsulate filling on it. They're just elasticated around the ankle as well, but they're easy enough to just slip on whilst you're in the bag. Keep them on, and you don't have to worry about fart arsing around with getting your trainers on if you get taken tonight. So as like my little blow up sleeping pillow that I've got in the sleeping bag, this time round gonna give these bad boys a go. £3, you know, what's £3 worth a go? See if they actually work or not. It's far from cold tonight, so I'm not worried about, you know, keeping my feet warm or anything like that on this occasion, just more for the case of yeah, seeing how they feel. Obviously once I'm in the bag and whatever else really, but yeah, if you've got a pre-mark in your area, get down and have a look at a little look for a pair of these. Like I say, I have seen more expensive versions on the market that are easily 10 times the price, so just for the sake of seeing out the rest of the year, keeping my socks dry and whatever else, well worth the £3. So I'm going to wrap it up there. Hopefully, fingers crossed, through the night you might see me. There's been a lot of fish activity today, you know, a lot of fish movement, so yeah, hopefully they get their heads down and have a little feed up. But I've not actually seen any fish in, like I say, in the last sort of hour and a half anyway. I've not seen any shows, just sort of like little stuff just breaking the surface. So let's hope for a fish through the night. If not, I'll catch up with you more in the morning. I'm just going to enjoy this brew and then probably get an early night, because I've been up since pretty much about 5:45 this morning. So I'm going to leave it there and I'll catch up with you, fingers crossed, like I say, through the night, if not in the morning. Oh, absolutely buzzing. What a scrap. Look down there, fish in the net, really nice common, and yeah, it was just a reward for moving that rod literally just the other side of them reeds. So I had a right nightmare with the net. One of the actual arms on the net hasn't got like the metal thread that goes into the spreader block, and as I'm trying to lift the fish over the net, it looks like one of the carbon arms has snapped, so it's kind of like bending into itself. The fish has gone in the net, out the net, in the net, out the net. What a nightmare. But we've got him in there. Get in. Let's get him on the mat, have a little weigh up and have a little look at him. If I can get him up for the camera. Look at that. Lean, mean, fighting, common machine. Immaculate fish. It was nailed in that bottom lip, slip D-rig, triple M wafter, and yeah, that was right in the bottom lip, bang in the bottom lip. That was not coming out. As ropey as the battle was underneath the rod tip, in and out of that net because the net malfunction, absolute nightmare. But we got him in, banging, absolutely banging on that. £23, just a smidge over and a couple of ounces. Wow, come on. Ah, good morning, and what a good morning it is. The right hand rod on the margin, like, I don't know, 2 foot off the margin, has gone rattling off again, and we got a little fish, I think, in the net. I've not actually had a look at it yet, but yeah, happy days. Had me scrambling out of the bag. My heart is going 100 miles an hour, but yeah, happy days. What a good start to the morning. So let's get it out, have a look at it on the mat, and we can see what our little prize is. Well happy with him. Little torpedo. I'm going to take some snaps on my phone. Quick max shots, and we'll let it back. Wow, what a good morning. What a good way to start the day. It always makes a day a little bit easier with a bite. And like I say, one just as it first got dark, and then one just on the first light. Absolutely buzzing. It's typical that I've had 2 fish and that I need to cut my session short by 2 hours, 24 hours. But yeah, I'm not going to complain. I'm absolutely buzzing with that. New water, 23 pounder, and a little backup scampy fitter, a little backup of a scamp of a fish to back it up with. So yeah, I'm well happy with that. That was off the right hand rod again, just literally like there, like 3 foot off the margin, if that. So yeah, I'm buzzing with that. I'm absolutely gagging for a brew. Like I say, it's just become first light now, and I did have a couple of occurrences on that right hander through the night, a couple of liners, and I did expect it to go a lot sooner, but yeah, I'm not going to complain that it's rattled off in the end. So yeah, well happy. Not quite sure if anyone else has had anything through the night. I've not heard any other alarms, but yeah, I'm buzzing. I've got two fish on the water that's been fishing really hard at the moment. Yeah, I'm well happy with that. So still got a good 4.5 hours, if not a little bit longer. Might even be able to sneak a third one out. We might as well go for the hat trick, ain't we? So, you know, might even get another one yet. But I'm going to get the brew kit on the go, try and come round to the world. I've got a long day ahead of me, so that's going to be challenging today, being up at this time in the morning. But yeah, let's get a brew on go, come round to the world, and I'll catch up with you in an hour or so. Whilst I'm waiting for the brew to cool down, I thought it would be a good chance to just show you what I've been using bait wise for the session. So boilies, I've brought 2 lots of boilies with me, but what I'm using down on that right hand spot that's done me a couple of bites is the triple N. In there I've got 10 and 15 sort of mixed. That's like a kilo bag. So yeah, I've basically just split them, so it's kind of usually like a 50-50 or maybe like a 75-25 mix. But yeah, they've been glugged in the triple N stick mix liquid. So yeah, I've been using them. Probably about 10 baits of each, so nothing, you know, not massive amounts of boilies, just enough to get them rooting around and digging around for sort of like the bigger baits. And then what I'm doing is also then taking a small handful of the krill pellets in 6mm and just sort of like peppering the front of the sort of like reeds where I'm getting them bites from. Obviously these are going to break down a lot quicker than the boilies will, release loads of oily goodness and get them, like I say again, getting them rooting around, digging around for some, you know, some grub on the lake bed. And like I say, these absolutely stink as well, red in colour. So yeah, giving them a little peppering of them as well. On the other spots that I've been sort of baiting up and trying to stalk fish out from round and swim for, I've been using the krill and tuna boilie, which is a fish meal boilie, cram full of fish meal, again in 15mm and 10mm. And I've just been adopting sort of like the same tactic, just a small handful of bait, round and swim for, just enough to get them rooting around, digging around. I just got, like I say, just I'm trying to stalk, I'm just trying to get sort of like the most smell and attraction in a real small concentrated area. So like I say, the krill and tuna stuff absolutely reeks. Hook bait wise, I am using the triple N wafters, so a match the hatch hook bait. They have been glugged to the high heavens with a tiny bit of oil and then the stick mix liquid just to loosen them up. So they've just been lightly glazed, and then I add a little bit of stick mix over the top of them just to create basically like a sort of cultured hook bait, sort of it just sticks to it. The triple N stick mix just sticks to it, and like I say, it just creates like a little sort of like a covering over them. And yeah, well, they seem to be doing the trick here. And to be honest, they're usually my go-to hook bait if I'm fishing on a hard bottom that I can get away with a bottom bait. These triple N wafters will be my go-to hook bait. And then last but not least, basically I'm using a slip D-rig. If I'm fishing on the bottom, I'll always use a slip D-rig. It's my most favoured rig for a bottom bait or a wafter. So it's just always cocked, primed to grab that bottom lip. Obviously a little swivel off the back of the shank of the hook, bit of shrink tube, tiny little strip back piece of coating off the hook link material, a little bit of putty just to get it down on the deck. This one's not been tied, so obviously I can dribble in and out. This one I can just tie to any length I want based on how you know, how hard the bottom is. But yeah, you can't get a better presentation than the slip D-rig, to be quite honest with you. If you haven't tried it yet and you're fishing a nice clean bottom lake, I absolutely recommend tying yourself some up. You just mount the hook bait onto the swivel with a bit of dental floss, bit of bait floss, pull it through, blob it off, and away you go. But yeah, that's what's done me the last couple of bites. got about 4 hours or so left of the session, so you never know, might even be able to nick another one yet. I have seen a fish show just off to my left just before filming, but I'm a bit sort of reluctant to cause too much disturbance, because yesterday I'd done the same, and they seemed to have done the off, and they didn't really respond well to me putting a lead on their head. So I'm trying to sit put, I think, and leave it for the next 4 hours and see what happens. But that's what I've been using bait wise. Hopefully, like I say, it might be able to nick another one before we go, but if not, I'm happy with what we've already got, so let's leave it there. Rods are still out. It's been really quiet this morning after that fish, which I could have expected, to be fair, because obviously the fish are really cagey in here. So yeah, nothing else has materialised since that bite at first light. I've had a really good sort out of all the gear. Everything is pretty much sort of sorted out, half packed away, just drying the brolly off, and yeah, all organised, ready to just go straight back into the shed. It was a bit of a mess when I started this session, after not being out for 3 or 4 weeks, so I've had a real good tidy up and sort out. I don't anticipate much happening now in the last hour of the session, but obviously if it does, then I'll flick the camera back on. It's been good getting back out. 24 hours, even though it was meant to be a 48, it's been good getting back out, and like I say, it's been good getting a couple of fish from a new venue that is a bit tricky at times, I've heard. So yeah, I'm glad to have nicked 2 fish, and one being a 23 pounder, well happy with that. So if you got this far, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment over on my video, stick them in the comments below. If you've got any questions, feel free to ask them. Get in touch on my social media. I'll try and give you a bit of an insight to the fishery if there's anything you want to know. Obviously it is my first session, so I don't know the complete ins and outs, but I might be able to help you where I can. So yeah, feel free to get in touch if you want to know any more about the Watergate lake. But what I'm going to do is just leave it there, really, like I say, unless anything happens in the last hour or so, which I don't anticipate happening. So as always, thanks for watching. I will catch you next time I am out on the bank, and stay safe.